Hello, I'm Dr. Juan Buenroso Jr., the former college secretary of the SLIS, which is ILS before, and I think I have the longest years of service as college secretary. And I'm very happy that two of my children graduated from this institution with a degree of LIS and BLS. Si Ira ang BLIS, Joel naman ay BLS. Kaya binabati ko kayong lahat sa inyong 59th founding anniversary. I hope to see you in the future.
Hello, good day, and welcome to the September edition of the Webinar Wednesdays of the UP School of Library and Information Studies. Today's lecture is entitled Online Teaching Aids for LIS Educators. We welcome students and teachers of library and information science and information professionals in the Philippines and across the globe. I am Elijah Darhuan, a faculty member from UP SLIS, your host and moderator for this webinar. Before we proceed, please take note that our webinar is in high definition or HD. For a more pleasurable viewing experience, please check and adjust the settings of this live stream to HD. You may also take the opportunity to check the audio and adjust the volume to a comfortable listening level. We're now on our third month of our Webinar Wednesday series. This webinar can be seen live on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, UPSLIS. These, along with our online talk show specials for the record and faculty room, are part of our journey on the road to 60. Looking forward to the 60th anniversary of UPSLIS in July 2021. Continuing the discussion on our remote learning, today's topic is also very relevant as we prepare for teaching our LIS courses. This webinar is all about tools and techniques in teaching information and communications technologies in LIS. I know this will be another fruitful learning experience for all of us. But before our talks, allow me to explain the mechanics of this webinar. We will be having successive presentations from each of our three esteemed speakers. If in case you miss portions of this webinar, you may view this as a Facebook video or check our YouTube channel at UPSLIS. If you have any questions during the lecture, you may post your question by going to www.menti.com and typing in the code 5886219. As you type in your question, please include the name of the speaker to whom your question is addressed to. All questions will be tackled in a question and answer portion after all three of our speakers have presented. Please take note that we will not be entertaining questions in the comment section of this video. You may post your question by going to www.menti.com and typing in the code 5886219. The website and code will be shown on the screen throughout the lecture. At menti.com, you may view the questions posted by our other viewers. If a question you wish to ask has already been posted, please upvote the question by clicking its thumbs up icon so that we can prioritize and address it first. So you may know two of our lectures have been pre-recorded, but don't worry because the Q&A will be conducted in real time. We will be issuing certificates of participation to those who will be joining us in this live event. We ask that you finish the webinar and watch out for the announcement containing the link to where you can register for your certificates. As part of the requirements for the certificate, you need to answer 2 questions correctly. We advise you that you listen intently to the speakers as they deliver their lectures. You can rewatch the video again and try again if you answer incorrectly. For registered professionals, this webinar may be applied for continuing professional development or CPD as a self-directed learning activity. Again, please stay with us until the end of this webinar for instructions on how to get your certificate. We are fortunate to have with us 3 of our expert UPSLIS professors of ICTs in LIS. Our first speaker is Professor Dan Anthony Dorado. He teaches information technology, research methodology, and statistical analysis at SLIS. Prior to that, he was an information specialist at the College of Engineering Library, where he was in charge of the system and network administration and the learning commons. Sir Dan obtained his master's degree in technology management in UP Diliman, and his research specialization covers applied informatics and digital scholarship. Our second speaker is Professor Paul Jason Perez. Professor Perez, or Sir PJ to us at SLIS, teaches introductory ICT and programming courses full-time. Prior to joining UP SLIS, he worked as an ICT associate in UP ITDC and was involved in the implementation of a university-wide information system. He finished his Master of Digital Information Management from the University of Technology, Sydney through the Australia Awards Scholarship. Our third and final speaker is Professor Jani Sormieda. He handles LIS classes in indexing and abstracting and IT courses on programming, database structures, and web development applications in LIS. With a Master of Library and Information Science degree from our school and his expertise in information analysis, web development, and database design, Sir Jani has been involved with several ICT projects for various organizations in the country. Now on with our three lecturers. Happy learning to all of us.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Before I start, may I have an idea of where our participants are coming from? So, as mentioned by our hosts, please go to menti.com and use the code 588621 9. So, while waiting for responses from our audience, uh, the three of us, me, PJ, and Sir Johnny, talk about what would be a good strategy for today's webinar. And we have strategized that chances are you have already attended numerous webinars wherein they have introduced a lot of available educational resources that you can use, especially for synchronous classes. So what we are going to discuss today are our favorite online tools, especially since the three of us teach ICT subjects. So I know for a fact that a lot of you are trying to figure out how can I teach programming, how can I teach database management when my students are not in a controlled environment, when my students are not in a laboratory. So we are going to share to you today what we plan to do coming this school year. So I see a lot from UP Diliman. We have some from Camarines Sur, UST. Okay, so I hope more LIS teachers can join us this afternoon. Uh, if you came this afternoon, if you are watching this afternoon, hoping for us to discuss numerous online teaching tools, you may be disappointed, but you may visit this website. Okay, so www.toptoolsforlearning.com. It is an annual survey of tools that educators use for their classes. So it's a list of the top 100 teaching tools that they use. But again, as I mentioned, what we're going to discuss this afternoon are the tools that we are going to use for our classes for this school year, specifically for ICT subjects. Okay, so first let me discuss the most common method of teaching, which is the traditional lecture. Okay, we cannot veer away from giving lectures to our students because one, there isn't a lot of textbook on LIS. So a lot of the things that we teach to our students comes from our experience when we are also doing the practice. So traditional lectures are the easiest, yet the least effective method of teaching. It does not incentivize engagement, making it dull and boring to most students. As teachers, we are always looking for ways to make teaching more diverse. And Ross and Forno in 2011 suggest that we should find the best pedagogical practice uh, so that we can uh, get engagement from our students. Uh, but there is this trend towards making the delivery of education an active learning experience. Active learning refers to any learning activity which involves active participation of students rather than the one-way communication between teacher and student, a characteristic of passive teaching methods. So when we say active learning, it's an approach. The active learning approaches are highlighted by being important and effective within higher education as they encourage deep learning and enable students to take responsibility for their own learning. Active learning is in teaching has been shown to engage students and increase motivation by enhancing interactivity, getting them involved in classroom, and stopping them from getting bored. So for this afternoon, for my part, I am going to discuss to you how to create an interactive lecture, an interactive presentation with Mentimeter. This is not a sponsored lecture. It is just that of the all the tools that I have used in my years of teaching and of all the interactive presentation tools that I have used, I feel that Mentimeter is one of the best tools that I have used. So I'm going to share to you this afternoon how I have used Mentimeter in my pedagogy. So Mentimeter is a audience response system. So the use of ARS or audience response system, sometimes referred to as a student or a classroom or a personal response system, is an electronic voting system, is one of an active learning approach which has been increasingly employed in higher education during the last years. There are two types of ARS being used. We have clickers and online tools. For clickers, it utilizes small handset, usually known as a clicker, which are used to interact wirelessly with the presentation with a presentation software such as PowerPoint. So relevant software needs to be installed on the presentation computer, and a dongle is used for wireless connectivity. So an example of an ARS who use clicker is Turning Point and iClicker. So technical issues with wireless connection and channels are some of the issues with clickers, and also the need to have a software installed on the computer used for presentation. So the second type of an ARS is the online tool. So with online ARS, participants can use the internet, any internet connected device. The software is entirely cloud-based, so pupunta lang sa browser, and the basic version are generally freely available. So some commonly used online ARS are Poll Everywhere, Mentimeter, and Socrative.com. Of course, the downside of using online ARS are these systems include restrictions on the number of participants that can participate, especially for pre-versions. And the most obvious is kailangan nakakonect sila sa internet. So there are numbers of effective uses for ARS in teaching, which allows teachers and students to get real-time results from the audience or the students. A common use is to check students' knowledge for uh, any misunderstanding and tailor teaching to the needs of students. So usually what I do in my class is I just give them a blank presentation, and I would, as much as possible, I would like the content of my lecture to be coming from them, to be supplied by my students. Uh, Educational research suggests that students like using ARS as they compare responses with the group and are able to check their understanding against other students. They can also be used as an assessment tool, usually formatively, to assess students' comprehension and to reinforce outcomes. An advantage of using ARS as an assessment tool is their ability to provide immediate diagnostic feedback. So by highlighting areas of development to both students and teachers, this helps to close gaps between current and desired performance as advocated by uh, Nichols and Farley in 2006. So again, the the main point of using ARS is to build engagement. And when engagement is addressed, students become uh, more interested to our lecture. And when they are more interested, they become more engaged. And when they are more engaged, there is increased learning. And especially now in this setup wherein wala yung students sa harap natin, I think there is a really big challenge for us to keep our lectures more engaging. Okay. So for this afternoon, I am going to show you some functionalities of Mentimeter and how you can use Mentimeter to engage your students. Uh, you can, as far as lectures are concerned, you can just do a YouTube broadcast, mag-YouTube live kayo, and then you give your students the Mentimeter code, just like what we are doing this afternoon. Uh, Another example of this is when there was a time when I was forced to teach outside the classroom, but since everyone has a cell phone, I was able to do my presentation, and all of my students were just looking at their cell phones, participating in the lecture that I was doing outside of the traditional classroom. Okay. Another reason why I was able to discover Mentimeter was I was assigned a class that is at na-assign ako ng class na alauna ng hapon, 1 o'clock p.m. So you can imagine how sleepy my students were. So to combat that anong term natin doon? Yung antok nila. So I must sabi ko na lang, I might as well use their cell phone since nagse-cellphone lang din naman sila during my class. So use their cell phones in my pedagogy. So naging part na ngayon ng class yung cellphone. Parang ayaw nilang pumasok sa class pag walang cellphone kasi mapag-iiwanan sila ng class activities. Okay, so one of their most favorite functions of Mentimeter is yung quiz functionality niya. So let's try that quiz functionality. So usually I would give my students readings at before the class starts. So kailangan nilang basahin yun. And to check whether nagbasa ba talaga sila, we would do a form of game at the start. And then kung sino yung student na manalo, kung sino yung grupo na manalo, exempted sila dun sa recorded quiz at the end of the class. Okay? So let's wait for other participants to join. Kung may naririnig po kayong music, that is also a part of Mentimeter. So habang naghihintay kayo, may nagpe-play ng music, di ba? So para talaga siyang quiz show. You can choose your, please, ito pa yung masaya dun sa quiz part. They need not to use their own names. They can just invent their own names. So, ibig sabihin, kahit matalo sila, hindi sila may hiya. Pero at least andun yung participation, andun yung engagement. And then later after class, I would see my students posting in their social media na, haha, I won Sir Dance quiz. So next time bagalingan ko ulit, or next time magdadala na ako ng mas mabilis na cellphone para lang manalo ako. So, okay, let's start. So, yung unang uri ng quiz is kailangan pabilisan. The faster you answer, the more points you get. Okay. Index that covers articles of classics and literature. Okay. It's the Humanities Index. This is, so this is collection management. Nako. Sino mga nagtuturo ng collection management? Okay. Next. So minsan kasi unfair nga naman kapag pag yung isang student mas mabilis yung internet connection niya, mas mabilis siya sumagot. So you have the option para tanggalin yung ganung point system. But before that, let's see muna kung sino yung nauna. So ang pinakamabilis ay si Frosty. Actually, dalawa lang yung tumama. Dalawang participant lang yung tumama. So ayan. So next question. So this time, hindi na siya pabilisan. If you get the correct answer, you will get 1,000 points. So this is a question from library management. Contingency approaches to management contend that shout out kay Ma'am Rhea. Okay. So situations determines manager approaches. So it's a case-to-case basis. Kaya nga tinawag na contingency approach. Okay. So ito may choices. Pero what if gusto nyo fill in the blanks type of quiz? So pwede rin po siya. So but before that, let's read the leaderboard. So yan, marami na tumama. And then kung makikita nyo, sabi ko nga, dahil walang time element, everyone who got the correct answer got 1,000 points. So ito naman, fill in the blanks. So kailangan mabilis kayo mag-type sa cellphone nyo. In DDC, religious paintings are classified under So hanggang 10s, kailangan ko yung hanggang 10s. Shout out sa mga cataloging teachers. I'm sure kayang-kaya nyo to. Okay, so this is 700, but anong tens niya? Okay, so this is 700. 700. No one got the correct answer. So the correct answer is, yes, it is 700. Pero ano yung tens digit niya? It's 730. 730. Okay. So may mga narinig na po ako nagrereklamo. Yung po mga co-host ko dito, nagrereklamo sila. Okay, next question. Ay, leaderboard pala muna. Wait lang po. Ayan, so leaderboard. Uy, someone got the correct answer. Meron nakatama. Si Vote Go. Nakatama. Okay. This is history. Next question. Kailangan nyo ulit i-type yung answer. So you can see the combinations that you can use for having this type of activity. So nag-gamify natin ngayon yung assessment. Shout out to my teacher in history of library, si Ma'am Ira Buenrostro. So this is history of printing. So let's see kung may nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Hoy, meron! So the term we're looking for is xylography. Yeah. Okay, so apparently si Sir Eli daw po pala yung nakakuha ng tamang sagot. Okay. Okay, so that ends the quiz part and then, ayan. So nanalo si Sir Eli, yung pong host natin for this afternoon. So usually sa class po, if Sir Eli won the game, after po no class, may assessment, may recorded quiz, but si Sir Eli will now be exempted. Makakapag-recess na siya ng maaga, makakapag-lunch na siya ng maaga. Okay. Okay. Other types of functionality from Mentimeter that can that lets you engage with your students. So pwede kayong gumawa ng multiple choice questions. So for example, do you think that the head of the National Library of the Philippines should be a licensed librarian? Okay. Now, I know for a fact na merong popular na sagot, but if someone from your class or someone from your audience would say something that is unpopular about the class, at least he or she can still express that opinion at hindi siya ma-ostracize for having that kind of opinion. Okay? So at least, and then with the answers that I get from this presentation, mas maganda na ngayon yung nagiging takbo nung lecture namin. Okay. Next is word cloud. So from the name itself, word cloud. So in your opinion, what is the most important quality of a reference librarian? So usually if alam ko na maraming possible answers, I usually do a word cloud. And then kung ano yung, usually pag sinabi yung word cloud, kung ano yung may pinakamaraming frequency ng words, siya yung magiging center ng word cloud natin. Okay. So based on what we are getting from the participants, the most for them, in their opinion, the most important quality of a reference librarian is he or she should be approachable, which is, I think, tama naman. Paano ka magiging isang reference librarian kung walang user na gustong lumapit sa'yo for any reason? Okay. So, ayan. So, because of the visualization, again, nawawala yung boredom, nagkakaroon ng engagement yung within the class. Okay. Then this is something that pwede nyo nang gamitin sa susunod na na school year as a word cloud that defines what should be a reference librarian is. Next are skills. So this is something na pwedeng natin gamitin after an activity. So how effective is the activity? Ano masasabi nyo? Naging successful ba yung objective ng activity na ginawa natin? So, how would you rate crash landing on you in terms of So what I like about this function is kung makita nyo lumalabas yung average. Okay, so at least nakakaroon ka ng feel ng room and their opinions. And then kapag hinover ko pa siya, makikita kung ilan yung nagsagot ng 4, ilan yung nagsagot ng 5, ilan yung nagsagot ng 2, etc. Ilan nagsagot ng 5, 6, ng 4, ng 5. So yeah. So again, these are all anonymous answers. Okay, next. The next function is yung ranking. Okay, so minsan kasi hindi sapat na may scale lang tayo. Minsan mas magandang i-rank, especially do sa tanong natin kanina, what is the most important characteristic for reference librarian? Obviously, there are maraming important characteristic dapat meron sa reference librarian. Hindi mo siya pwedeng hindi pwedeng isang characteristic lang. But with this type of question, we can look at alin yung mas binavalue nilang characteristics. So pwede nilang i-rank ngayon yung sagot nila in terms of alin yung mas binavalue nila, alin yung mas binibigyan nila ng importance. Sorry po, puro Korean drama yung example ko. Wala pa maisip nung ginagawa ko siya. Yes po, pwede pong isa lang yung sagot nyo, pwedeng dalawa lang yung sagot niyo if you're not familiar with the other options. So, some side story, kahit po yung mga co-host ko na amazed dun sa nakikita nila, which highlights my point, it's the engagement. It's nawawala yung boredom ng simple lecture lang because you are able to get their feedback. Thus, nagiging two-way communication na ngayon yung lecture na ginagawa mo as a teacher. Okay, so next. 100 points. So in this function, the students are given 100 points. And then the task is to distribute those 100 points in terms of their preference. So ginagamit ko to most kapag sa simula ng school year wherein sila ang pinagde-decide ko paano ang magiging distribution ng grades nila. So, wala akong pakialam kung, actually meron, pero hindi ko pa naranasan na lahat ng 100 points nilagay nila sa attendance. Kasi natatakot din sila na, hala, kapag umabsent ako, ang laki na agad na mawawalang grade sa akin. So, pero it's a good exercise on making the students accountable sa weight ng requirements para sa class nila. So, sila ang nag-decide na ito yung distribution ng okay. Just make sure lang na 100 points po yung ano. So yan. So kung ano po yung lumabas dyan, yan na po yung nagiging distribution ng grading ko for that particular school year. Ay, dalawa pala yung assignment. Sorry. Anyway, you get the idea. Ito, who will win? Para po siyang multiple choice, pero may tendency po kasi minsan yung students na, ay, natatalo yung ganito, dun ako boboto sa isa. Or, alam ko dapat may isang bumoto sa akin, pero bakit walang bumoto? So, friendship over na kami nung akala kong boboto sa akin. So, in who will win, the students will be given an option, and then hindi po lalabas kung ilan yung bumoto dun sa particular choice na yon. Basta at the end of the voting process, basta na lang i-announce kung sino yung nanalo. Again, sorry kung puro Korean ang reference ko. So as of this moment, I have 7 people who already voted. So, di ba kanina doon sa multiple choice, tumataas, bumababa yung bars. So, dito hindi niyo malalaman until I press enter. So, kung sino may pinakamarami at the moment I press enter, siya yung mananalo for this particular function. Okay? So, I'm going to hit enter in 3, 2, 1. And the winner is Park Seo-jun. Okay. So, si Dong man to, di ba? Si Dong man. Okay. Okay. So, let's talk about pricing. Well, one of the biggest negative comment about Mentimeter is yung price. Kung makikita nyo, yung professional niya is at $25 per month, so that's times 12. But to be honest, you don't need the pro. You only need the basics para magawa yung mga activities natin this afternoon. But again, what I like about Mentimeter is they have an edoc pricing. So when I first used this, ito yung una ko talagang hinanap, and I was able to subscribe dun sa $6 per month nila. So that's what, around $70 per year. It's a very good investment kung ang kapalit naman ay isang very engaging class. So yes, medyo kailangan nyo maglabas ng pera, but I think if you really, pero in my opinion, since I really value the engagement that I get from my class and yung matuto sila sa akin, it's ano ba naman yung $70 per year. So that's what, around 3,000 plus pesos. Plus, ito yung maganda. Maybe you can ask your institution to subscribe Mentimeter for you, since kung pwede nyo ipakita tong ginawa natin this afternoon para ma-convince din sila, tapos makikita nila yung value nito, tapos sige, lahat tayo isusubscribe natin sa Mentimeter. So pwede sa dean, pwede sa alumni, yan. And last, and something na ginagamit din namin for this webinar is yung question. So in my experience, may mga students na gusto magtanong pero nahihiya sila. So this is how they voice out their questions to me. Kasi may tendency nga naman na, ay, bakit mo tinanong yan, hindi ka ba nakikinig? Ay, bakit ka nagtatanong yan, hindi mo ba naintindihan yung lecture? So they do this, they ask their questions this way. Or if you are handling a big class, you can also do this para mas madali nyong ma-address yung mga questions nila. And so far, wala pa naman question. Okay? So I think kung may question kayo, again, you can still go to menti.com. You can ask questions. Meron naman dung button, ask a question, 588621 9. Okay? So, and with that, that concludes my presentation. Thank you for listening to me this afternoon. And stay safe po.
Thank you very much, Sir Dan, for reminding us to engage our students in the way we handle our classes through active learning and using interactive presentation tools. Yay, exempted ako sa quiz later. Okay, let me just reiterate again for your questions in this webinar. You could go to www.menti.com and type the code 5886219. Now, moving forward, let's now have a discussion about online tools and resources for teaching programming from Sir PJ.
Thank you, Sir Eli, for the introduction. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Thank you again for joining us. I'll be talking about some tools and resources for teaching programming. I have been teaching programming for the past year, and I believe that these tools and resources are of great help, especially now that some of us will be teaching remotely. And I hope na meron kayong bagong matutunan sa presentation na to. And so programming, it is now considered as an essential skill, not only for those in the computer sciences, but also for any field or profession. As a matter of fact, in Western universities, programming is now being taught to any student from arts and humanities to social sciences. And in 2015, the CHED Memorandum Order number 24 formalizes the addition of 6 ICT courses in the BLIS curriculum. So some of these courses are information handling and processing, web technologies, digital libraries, system analysis and design, and one of them is programming fundamentals or ICT 104. The aim of this course is to introduce students to basic algorithm and data structures. However, of course, there are some challenges with the additional ICT courses in the curriculum. One of that is the skills of the students are very different. Meron akong students before who already had Python or JavaScript during their junior or senior high. Pero meron din namang mga totally new to programming. Another challenge is that there are LIS faculties in the country that struggled with providing resources to satisfy the ICT needs of the new curriculum. And lastly, of course, we are now in the middle of pandemic. So, with the first two challenges, kinakaya naman natin yan, no? As LIS educators, di ba, we adjust our teaching styles to accommodate everyone. We also provide training and development to faculty members to update their skills. Pero yung pangatlo, the pandemic, this is quite challenging. This forces us to teach remotely, knowing that students and even faculty members, they have different levels of access to resources and technology. Merong mga students na sa university computer labs lang sila nakaka-access ng computers, and on top of that, meron pang mga socio-economic and psychological challenges that these students face. So with that, we should take advantage of the available tools and resources, most of which are free, by the way, that can make our teaching and learning a little bit easier. Now I'll be discussing some resources and tools that I've used in teaching programming. The first one are the visual programming languages such as Scratch and Alice. So these visual programming languages are very popular for kids. These are drag and drop building blocks of codes that can be used to animate objects or sprites, and they can be used to develop simple interactive games such as the one that you're seeing here, or digital novels. So yung mga nakikita nating blocks dito, these are the commands, and the moving part here is the preview of the output of the program. So both of these languages, Scratch and Alice, are free to download along with lesson plans and activities. Take note, however, that these programming languages are designed for kids. But if you have students who have no programming background, these can be great tools to demonstrate visually the concepts of control flows such as conditionals and loops. But I would not recommend that we stick with visual programming languages for the whole semester. This is good for one or two lessons. We can also introduce our students to text-based programming languages. And although the CHED memorandum is agnostic of any specific programming languages, wala silang specific na language na nire-recommend, I highly recommend that we teach high-level programming languages such as JavaScript or Python. Both of these languages were voted as the most popular programming languages in the past 5 years from Stack Overflow. Also, leading universities such as Harvard and MIT also switched their introductory programming to use these languages instead of C or Java. One of the reasons why these languages are preferred is that they have a clean syntax and low barrier in terms of tech requirements. For example, in JavaScript, for you to be able to start coding, you only need a text editor and a browser. Yung Python naman, its syntax is so clean. Others are joking pa nga na it's like you're reading a pseudocode or you're just reading English sentences. Personally, I am biased towards Python. I have taught Python because it is a multi-purpose language. If your students would like to pursue, for example, data science or web development or game development or simply just automating things on their computer, then a strong foundation with Python can really help them achieve those. In terms of resources, currently there are so many out there. Sa YouTube pa lang napakaraming tutorials and then meron ding mga online courses such as Codecademy, Coursera, edX, Udacity. Some of these courses are free. Some of them are discounted for students. And believe me, I have tried so many online courses. And what I found to be the most effective and are of high quality are the following. So let me discuss them more in details. The first one is Free Code Camp, which is a non-profit community founded by Quincy Larson in 2014. It is 100% free. Most of their lessons are for web development, but they also have fundamentals for programming using JavaScript and Python. So two things that are very good about Free Code Camp is that number one, the interface allow learners to code and test their programs right on the browser. So wala na silang kailangang install and they just need to follow along the lessons. And second, they can earn certificates that are now becoming popular among industry looking for programmers. So if they finish your course and they finish the Free Code Camp module, they can have certificates that they can add in their LinkedIn or in their resume. So I used Free Code Camp before in my class. What I did is that I assigned a module in class and I just monitored the students' progress. Another great resource are the courses by Dr. Chuck or Dr. Charles Severance, who is a professor at the School of Information in the University of Michigan. His courses are available for a fee in Coursera, but you can actually access all of them for free through his own website. I personally recommend Python for everybody, or if you're teaching PHP, then you can use web application for everybody. What's good about Dr. Chuck's courses is that All of them are free to use. His videos, PowerPoints, and even his modules, which can be used as a learning management system plugins, all of them are under the Creative Commons license. Another good thing about his courses is that the assessments are auto-graded, and it is available in different levels of difficulty. So that means si student, they can just really go along through the lessons independently. The modules are designed to be self-paced. So I also use the modules of Dr. Chuck in some of my classes. And if you don't want to focus on web development, another great resource is the book called Automate the Boring Stuff with Python by Al Swigart. His course is available via Udemy for a discounted rate, but the book is totally free if you read it from his website. What's good about this resource is that the exercises are focused on file handling and manipulation. Some exercises include, for example, renaming multiple Word and Excel files, manipulating images and PDF files, arranging different files in a location. So this is a really good preparation for students who want to handle or automate the management of digital files in the future. And then lastly, I would also like to recommend Harvard CS50X. This is the world's most highest rated and most popular open courseware ever, according to the Class Central. So CS50X is the open courseware developed by Harvard that can be accessed by anyone for free, and it also provides certificates no kapag dun nyo in-access sa open courseware ni Harvard. Its syllabus covers more than what is specified in the syllabus of ICT 104, but the quality content can still be used to give students a strong foundation, not just in programming but in computational thinking in general. In terms of tools, one of the most important are the text editors. And I like to discuss this because naging challenge siya nung naging remote teaching na kasi it used to be in a computer lab. You can control the specs of each machine so that the students will use the same specifications. But this time, magkakaiba talaga. Merong smartphone na gamit, merong tablet, merong laptop. So, some of the recommended text editors that students can install on their own devices are Atom, Sublime, and VS Code. So these three are commonly used in the industry, and they also have free versions. But another option would be is to use text editors available in the cloud. So these are text editors accessible via the browser. These are sometimes preferable because students only need their Google Chrome or Firefox, and there's no need for them to install additional programs, especially if they're using Chromebooks. Then these cloud-based text editors are their best options. One that I highly recommend is repl.it or repl.it. You can sign up for free, and it has support for more than 50 computer programming languages. And another good thing about this is that you can invite students or fellow classmates to code collaboratively parang sa Google Docs. So this can be an interesting way for students to do pair programming. This is another challenge. If the students are only using smartphones, then they need to install mobile apps such as PyDroid, Droid Edit, or Droid Script, or Python 3 IDE available in iOS, so that they can code using their smartphones, because these apps are specifically designed for coding using your phones. However, as teachers, we have to be aware that the functionalities of these mobile apps are sometimes limited and others needs to be unlocked by buying the whole app so that you can access all the needed features. So medyo limited talaga kapag mga mobile apps lang yung gagamitin. And then finally, what I believe is the most important thing that we can provide to our students now is support. The resources that I presented earlier, they were designed such that students can go through it on their own. But as teachers, we still need to guide them and provide feedback so that we know how they're doing. And since the lecture materials, the exercises, and auto grading are readily available, we can now devote more time to one on one or personalized feedback with our students. These can be in the form of code reviews, one on one sessions, and answering their queries in a tech support style. So, for example, when conducting code reviews, it can be done through, again, one on one sessions or through the use of tools. And GitHub, again, is a tool that we can use because it has a feature where people can comment on the code, including the changes that has been made previously. So, for example, in this screenshot, you can see that the code that was submitted has now changed, and we can now provide some comment how those changes have been made. You may also instruct a set of students to provide comments to another set and then vice versa. So, in that way, students will also practice how to read other people's code. Another way of providing support is through one on one sessions, and in order to do that efficiently, you can sign up for services such as the youcanbook.me web application. So, this application will help you manage the bookings or the appointments, and you can link it up with your calendar, such as the Google Calendar, so that you're automatically notified when a student booked you for a consultation. So, what this does is it eliminates the back and forth of emails between the students and teacher, so it can really save us time. And lastly, we must also be open to questions from our students, but at the same time, we must teach them to be resourceful and problem solvers. So, with this, you can use a ticketing system, but really a simple Google form will do. When programming, it is normal that one will encounter an error, and we must teach our students that when they encounter an error, they need to attempt to resolve it on their own first. And so, kapag may questions yung students, we need to ask our students to uh, can they describe the error, how can they recreate the error if they can recreate it, and what solutions they have tried so far in resolving that particular error. So in this way, we are teaching our students to be independent and resilient. So, when teaching programming remotely, the following are my suggestions. First, we must take advantage of the free resources such as the lecture slides, exercises, and other tools. Let us not reinvent the wheel. Let's use what is already available. And also, students going through the lessons will be doing it in a highly asynchronous and self paced manner. So, this means that we'll have more time. So, we must complement that with a high level of personalized feedback and support. Thank you for listening to my presentation. If you have specific questions, you can email me at pj@slis.upd.edu.ph, or you can also follow me on Twitter at pvperez1. Thank you.
Thank you, Sir PJ. For our LIS teachers, there is hope in teaching programming outside our computer laboratories. We can use these free online tools that were mentioned earlier, and I believe these tools can also help us LIS professionals to refresh our skills in programming. Thank you, sir. Again, if you have any questions to Sir Dan and Sir PJ and to the next speaker, you can go to menti.com and key in the code 5886219. As you type in your question, please include the name of the speaker to whom your question is addressed to. Finally, let's now have a discussion on tools and resources for teaching systems development from Sir Jani Sermieda.
Good afternoon. Today we are going to take a look into 3 available teaching aids which we can utilize to teach LIS subjects specifically for system development. The Google Collaboratory, Diagrams.net, and Google Jamboard. Pardon me if there are some technical terms that will be discussed in this webinar. Let's start with Google Collaboratory or Colab. In data science, we have what we call Jupyter Notebooks, an open source application which provides an interactive coding and learning environment. We'll focus today on the Google Collaboratory or Colab, a free cloud-based Jupyter Notebook hosted by Google. Google Colab is a tool that allows anybody to write and execute arbitrary Python code into one collaborative document. Hosted by Google, Colab notebooks can be easily shared, edited, and stored simply in your Google Drive. So how does it work? Imagine if you are teaching a programming class of 40 students. Each of these students have different learning phase, different hardware, and different internet speed. Sharing a Colab notebook enables the students to study at their own pace, run and execute codes without the need to configure anything. More technically, Colab allows programmers to write and execute Python script in the browser with no needed configuration. You can also utilize text cells to document your code. And of course, it is cloud-based, which can be saved and shared via Google Drive, email, or GitHub. Now let us open a Google Collaboratory or Colab notebook. Before we can create a Colab notebook, you must have a Gmail account. Log into your account and go to Google Drive. Initially, Colab is not included in the available apps in our Google Drive. We can access it by clicking New, More, and Connect More Apps. In the resulting window, let's search Collaboratory. Click the icon and install. Upon clicking install, Google will ask for your permission and it will relate the Collaboratory app to your account. After this, we can create a Colab notebook via Google Drive. It's just like opening a Google Docs or Sheets. So the interface of a Colab notebook is very straightforward. You can name your file here. We have here the file menu, and below it are 2 types of cell, the code cell and the text cell. Code cell can be used to execute and write Python code, while the text cell can be used to insert text block, images, and even HTML. To demonstrate, let's click on the text cell. Colab text cells are formatted using simple markup language called Markdown. This markup language can easily be used using the different icons in the upper part of your text cell. text cells can be used to deliver instruction to our learners, example of which is when we instruct our student to type a code in the code cell. You can also write formatted or code formatted text. Code cell can run Python scripts, example of which is print hello world. To execute a Python code, the learner must click on the Run button. We can save a Colab notebook by clicking Save under the File menu. As stated before, you can save the Colab notebook in your drive, in GitHub, or in GitHub. You can also share the notebook similar to how you can share a Google Doc. So that's a simple starter in utilizing Google Colab. Straightforward and easily accessible. Our next tool is diagram.net. Diagrams.net allows us to create different diagrams such as flowchart, entity relationship diagram, and UML diagram. According to its website, diagrams.net is an open source, online, desktop, and container deployable diagramming software. The application enables the users to draw diagrams using their own browser and create diagrams from their computer. There are different ways to access diagrams.net. We can go directly to its website, diagrams.net, or we can install it on our Google Drive. For this webinar, we will install diagrams.net on our Google Drive. Log into your Google account and open Google Drive. To install diagrams.net, click on New, More, and connect more apps. In the resulting page, search for diagrams.net. Click the icon, install, and provide permissions for it to continue. We can now create our diagram via the Google Drive. Click on New, More, and diagrams.net. Let us create an entity relationship diagram by selecting the blank diagram and clicking on Create, and give authorization to diagrams.net. The interface of diagram.net is very straightforward. The area in the middle is the drawing canvas. The left pane contains shapes for the different diagrams, while the right pane controls the properties of shapes added to the canvas. On top of the page are standards menu component where we can save, share, print, and open a diagram. Let's start creating our ERD. For this ERD, I will be creating a table for books, authors, material types, and of course, author of the books. You can delete excessive attribute by right-clicking the attribute and clicking on delete. Now that we've created our tables, we now need to create our relationship between each tables. We can easily select from in any of these relationship from 0 to many optional, 0 to 1, 1 to 1, 1 mandatory, 1 to many. It will not matter since we can control the appearance or the characteristic of each relationship on our right pane. Then you can duplicate this relationship by clicking Command C and Command V. can drag the edge of the relationship to the specific primary key and the other side to the specific foreign key. Since this is a composite table, we can make its edge rounded. And we can also we can also delete the excess attributes for this table. The relationship between material type and book ID is not is a non-identifying relationship. So therefore, the relationship must be dotted. We can go to Style and select the type of lines that we can use. Dash lines. So there we go. We already have our ERD. This ERD can be saved by clicking File and selecting Save. So it's already saved in your Google Drive. But we can also download this ERD as an HTML. So File, Export as HTML. Then click on Device. The downloaded HTML can be distributed to your students. The beauty of this is that when they click the downloaded HTML, it will automatically open in their browser. And if they think that they can use the said ERD, they can simply click on the image and click on Edit, and they will be redirected to the diagrams.net website, wherein they can edit the ERD for their own. They can edit it, make the necessary changes, and save it for their own use. There it is. That's diagrams.net. Drawing diagrams or creating diagrams and distributing them to your student has never been easy. Another useful tool is Google Jamboard. Since we lack physical interaction in classes and whiteboards and blackboards are out, the Jamboard makes a great alternative to illustrate ideas for class or even for personal use. You can find Jamboard in the Google Apps in your Gmail account. Go to your Gmail account, click on Google Apps, scroll down, and click on Jamboard. You can use Jamboard on a computer or in a mobile devices. When you arrive at the Google Jamboard homepage, initially there's no Jamboard for you, but you can click on the plus icon on the lower right part of your screen to create your first Jamboard. In your Jamboard, you can choose a type of pen. It can be a regular pen, a marker, a highlighter, or a brush. You can even select the color of these pens. Like for example, we'll use a brush and color red, color blue. There's also a select tool that can be used to move movable objects within the Jamboard. More of that later. You can also use the sticky note to add notes within the Jamboard. You can even change the color of this sticky note. A sticky note is a type of selectable item within the Jamboard. You can select it using the select tool, move it around the Jamboard, rotate it, or even enlarge it. When you click the three dots on the sticky note, you can even edit the sticky note, duplicate or delete the notes. Let's go and edit the sticky note and change the color from orange to blue. Then if you want to make another copy of this sticky note, simply click on the three dots and duplicate. Then from here, you can also edit it. And also rotate it. Aside from sticky note, you can also insert images in your Jamboard. But first, let me clear this Jamboard by clicking on the eraser tool below the pen, or by clicking the click frame on the top menu. Now let's insert an image within the Jamboard. With this, you are given a view wherein you can upload an image, make a Google search, retrieve an image from your Google Drive, or even photos. But for this example, we'll search from the image search. You can simply select on the image and click select. That image will be inserted in your Google Jamboard. There's also a icon wherein you can insert different shapes on the Google Jamboard. For example, if you want to highlight something from this use case, then we'll select the circle tool and circle the actor. But initially, it's white. But above our Jamboard, there's a fill color option wherein you can select for your shape to be transparent. And here, we've selected the driver actor, and we can make note that this is an actor inside our use case. We can also insert text within the Jamboard. And these text, similar with notes, are also movable, rotatable. By clicking the three dots, you can also edit, delete, duplicate, and order, and send it backward. Okay, let's clear the frame. Aside from that, we can also change the color, the background of our Jamboard. There are several type of background we can use within the Jamboard. We can use the dots, the rules, the squares, graph, solid color blue, and solid color black. I usually like to use the squares. Let's insert an image, but this time, we'll upload an image from our device. And let's give it a sticky note and give instruction to our student and change the color to yellow. There we go. We've instructed them to try to normalize this table. You can also save your jams or download them as PDF. It's right here beside the share icon. By clicking the three dots, you can download this Jamboard as a PDF, save the frame as an image, remove or make a copy. Jamboard allows interaction for brainstorming, concept mapping, and illustrating ideas. This can be useful for LIS teachers, especially when you are discussing and want to illustrate frameworks and tables. We can also utilize Jamboard if we want to show the class how normalization is done. First, we insert an image or we upload an image. Use the sticky note and use the draw pen there, we can use that. Jamboard is like your online canvas, and you can freely share ideas and simply jam on the page. To sum up, we are introduced to three tools that we can utilize in teaching: the Google Colaboratory, the diagrams.net, and the Google Jamboard. As we are caught up in the changing times, technologies like this allows us to continue the learning process creatively and collaboratively. We can still facilitate online learning in a fun, productive, and engaging way. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Sir Johnny. And thank you so much also to our previous speakers for their very engaging and informative sessions. It's true that our inability to go to our campuses and use our laboratories hinder us in teaching, but I believe here, as was presented earlier, are a number of solutions to help us get through and conduct effective instruction. For those of you who just joined us, this is online teaching aids for LIS educators organized by the UP School of Library and Information Studies. Again, if you have any questions, you may post it by going to menti.com and typing in the code 5886219. We encourage that you check the previously posted questions and upvote questions you would like to be prioritized. We are very happy to have with us our colleagues from UP Diliman, Central Philippine University, Leyte Normal University, Camarines Sur Polytechnic University, and University of Santo Tomas as our viewers. Huh? At this juncture, I believe we have all have questions in our minds. So let us now address the questions posted by our viewers via menti.com. This our first question is addressed to Sir PJ. Sir PJ, we have a question here for you. How do you teach IT classes in such a way that your students can understand you even if they do not have an IT background?
Um,
That's a good question. No? As I mentioned during my presentation, I had students before who really came into class with no IT or programming background. So first, I would suggest that we need to help our students realize that transitioning to an IT career has been done by a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, different age, or different profession. So it can be done. We need to present them stories na kahit saan ka man galing, IT doesn't require na you were born with playing computers, ganyan. So at any age, at any skill, if you pwede kang mag-transition sa IT career. And then after we help them realize that it can be done, then we can introduce them to introductory topics, as I mentioned earlier. For example, if we want to introduce them to programming, we can use yung Scratch. That is like they're just playing or creating games. But at the same time, na-introduce na sila sa mga programming concepts ng variables, loops, mga ganon. So, there are some tools and it can be done. So ganun yung pwedeng strategy to accommodate people not coming from the IT background.
Thank you, Sir PJ. To our other speakers, Sir Dan and Sir Johnny, would you like to add something? Okay, mukhang okay naman na sila. Sige, for our next question, this is addressed to Sir Dan. Siguro na-miss out lang niya yung detail na ito sa presentation ni Sir Dan. Question is, how much daw po yung Menti subscription? How much is Menti?
Okay. As mentioned a while ago, yung yung basic ni Menti is around $10 per month. But if you are able to prove to them that you are an educator, that you are going to use Mentimeter for your classes, they are going to give you the educational price of $7 per month.
Ayun. So, andun na rin po tayo, Sir Dan, sa usapan ng Menti. May question din po tayo na regarding subscription. Kung mag-a-ask daw po tayo, any tips on how we can ask our administrators to subscribe for Menti? Hihingi daw po siya ng tip kung paano mapapersuade yung kanilang mga boss para mag-subscribe sa Mentimeter.
I think that is a very good question kasi nga, if you really think about it, medyo mabigat yung price ni Mentimeter. So my suggestion is, you can first try muna Mentimeter and do some research, parang pag-aralan kung ano ba talaga yung naging epekto ng paggamit ng tool sa class. So pag meron kasi tayong evidence, mas madali natin ma-convince yung administrator natin na it is worth the investment, na merong return on investment. Also, there are educational research that exists that yung mga na-cite ko kanina that highlights the value, the effectiveness of audience response system, specifically Mentimeter. So pwede yung isama doon sa research na gagawin nila, and I kung maganda yung pagkakasulat siguro, I believe the administrator naman, kumpara din sa mga students, they will support it.
Oo nga. That's a very good advice, sir, no? Pag evidence-based nga i-present natin, mayroon tayong basis, mas madali tayong makakapag-persuade. Siguro pwede rin nating i-suggest, no, na kung matapang-tapang tayo, invite din natin yung school administrators natin into one of our classes and make a demonstration of how to use Menti para sila din may experience din nila kung paano gumamit ng application. Nga lang, kailangan lang kaunting lakas ng loob, no? Sige. To all of our speakers, meron akong isang question dito. Ano po yung naging challenge ninyo while learning these tools at paano niyo po na-overcome yung mga challenges na yun? At paano kayo nakapag-adapt towards using these online tools? Unahin natin si Sir Dan.
Okay, challenges. A lot of these online tools have fee. Lalo na kung gusto mong utilize talaga yung full functions ng mga tools na to. So kanina nung hindi tayo live, it is something na pinag-uusapan natin na sana may full access tayo sa ganitong software para mas effective yung pedagogy natin. Medyo magasto siya, pero again, if at the end of the day matututo yung estudyante natin, at the end of the day sila yung makikinabang, I think it is worth the investment. We are in a profession wherein we have to share most of our uh, aspirations, yung mga natutunan natin. So I think yun lang, medyo magastos siya. You have to really look for the right tool that would complement your pedagogy.
Yun. Thank you very much, Sir Dan. Sir PJ, paano po yung naging challenge ninyo and how did you overcome those challenges for online tools?
Sa akin naman, there's a specific instance when I was first trying out HackerRank. So I'm really looking for a tool that can perform auto grading kasi as I've mentioned, it really takes time to check na yung mga exercises sa mga students. So ang naging difficulty ko doon is yung tool hindi masyadong supported yung pagbigay ng guide sa mga new users. So talagang hahanapin mo talaga sa forum kung paano gawin to, paano gawin yan, or you have to look at YouTube videos to learn how to use it. So struggle talaga yun. You have to spend time on how to learn to use the tool, and then once marunong ka na, you have to make notes so that the next time na gagamitin mo siya or ituturo mo sa ibang gustong gumamit, mas mabilis na nilang matututunan yung tool na yun.
Oo nga, thank you Sir PJ. O kailangan nga talagang aralin yun to begin with para maging mas effectively magagamit natin yung online tool na napili natin. So, kay Sir Johnny naman, sir, yung challenges mo po in adapting to the online tools you use.
Sa akin medyo kasi ever since nag-code na tayo, nagpo-program na, though ang naging problem ko talaga recently is yung internet connection. Kahit anong gusto mong itry yung isang program, kahit nandoon yung mo, kung nandoon yung pagkagusto mo, 'di ba, na pag-aralan siya. Pero kung nililimit ka naman ng resources mo, lalo na ng internet connection mo, yun yung nagiging problem. So I think it's a call na rin, hindi lang sa atin, pero syempre do sa admin above, na I think it's about time na i-monitor nila and tingnan nila yung yung status ng ating internet connection sa Pilipinas. Kasi kung tutuloy-tuloy ang online teaching for everyone, especially for our kids and for our students, yan ang isa sa magiging hindrance. At isa yan sa pangahawakan nila na na dilemma nila na hindi nila ma-access yung materials kasi wala silang internet, ang bagal ng internet nila. Ang daming resources na available, ang daming tools na available, pero kung wala tayong way to access and to communicate with those tools, hindi rin natin magaya. Ang daming sayang.
Yes, yun nga sir. Tama ka Sir Johnny. Yun nga yung pinaka-ideal na setting natin. Paano mo ba naman ituturo yung online tools kung hindi ka, paano mo naman ituturo yung mga skills na kailangan matutunan ng mga estudyante kung hindi ka pupunta online? Kailangan nga talaga ng infrastructure at resources. Yes, Sir Dan, would you like to add to that?
Yeah. Another thing, I think it's something na isa pa natutunan ko. Dapat hindi ka takot magkamali. Kasi there are times na medyo magiging talagang palpak or wali yung approach mo sa students mo. So you really need to have a good feedback mechanism then with your students para at least alam mo tama pa rin ba yung ginagawa mo or you need to readjust what you are doing sa klase.
Ayan, opo, maraming salamat nga po. Kailangan nga
One more, Sir Eli.
Tulad ng estudyante, kailangan marunong din tayong mag-learn from our mistakes. So, sige. For our next question, meron isa ditong tanong, Sir Dan. May I ask po regarding the Menti scoring? Mukhang Menti user yung ating naglagay ng question. Regarding daw the Menti scoring, sa individual grading po, mahirap pala kunin ang score ng every student. Any tips kaya paano ma-overcome ito?
For Menti basic, yes, that will be the case kasi medyo nag-iingat din si Mentimeter sa pagkuha ng personal information ng mga
Yes.
estudyante natin. Again, kailangan
Data
protektahan yung data privacy ng mga students natin. For MentiPro, there is a way para makuha who among your students answered that particular question. But Mentimeter also tells us na kailangan before ka manguha ng personal information, kailangan mo munang sabihin din sa mga students mo or sa mga participants na I am getting your personal information and I will be keeping it in Mentimeter. Because
Tama.
yes, I agree there are situations na medyo minsan kailangan mong kunin who answered what. Lalo na kung ba biglang may matapang na bubuli sa class kasi ginagamit nila yung pagiging anonymous sila sa class. So minsan kailangan mo ngang makuha din yung personal data ng mga tao. Pero again, kailangan ma-disclose mo siya. And again, it's not yung functionality na yun ay nasa Menti Pro, wala siya sa Menti Basic.
Ayan, maraming salamat po Sir Dan. No? Reminder nga din na kailangan for every tool that we use, we also know the implications kung anong magiging kalagayan ng classroom natin overall environment. Mayroon pa tayong a few questions here. To all of our speakers, I hope you can conduct a workshop to LIS educators on the tools that you shared. Parang nag-ask to ng training. We need more time and hands-on. Feeling ko naman, if I could speak on behalf of you, all of you three, willing naman po tayong magbigay ng training. Tama ba? Oo. Sige, let me answer this as well. We have been going through some meetings and we have been conducting training workshops for LIS teachers in the past, and we are still working on more training events to come. So sa ating po mga viewers, watch out for the LIS teacher training we'll be organizing at UP SLIS. This virtual training program will be conducted sometime very soon. Abang-abang lang po tayo. Topics include, among others, programming, systems analysis, database design, and digital libraries. So just watch out for our announcements via our social media accounts and our website, slis.upd.edu.ph in the next few months for all of our interested LIS teachers. Ayan. So siguro we're down to our last question. Meron pa pala, kakapasok lang. Mabilis lang to sagot, Sir Dan. What is the best free alternative for Menti? Would you know? Libre. Sir Dan, muted po ulit. Can you turn on your audio, Sir Dan?
Ayan. Sorry.
Ayan.
Based dun sa mga na-try ko na, I think the next best option after Mentimeter is Socrative. Socrative.
Socrative.
So, like Mentimeter, pwede ka mag-upload ng existing PowerPoints mo. Pwede mo rin siyang i-embed sa PowerPoint mo kung talagang gusto mo PowerPoint, pero gusto mo interactive siya. Pero mas marami kasi yung functionality si Mentimeter compared kay Socrative.
Kung kitang-kita nga po natin yun, Sir Dan, I definitely agree na. Yung menti.com nga po, di ba yung ginagamit natin? We are using menti.com to entertain the questions for this webinar. So it's really a useful tool, I must say. We're down to our last question. Medyo personal lang. Optional tong sagutin. Kung gusto mong sagutin, okay lang naman. Kung hindi, okay lang naman din po. Nakalagay kasi dito, at 3 upvotes. May 3 upvotes po ang tanong na ito. Sir PJ, are you single?
Yes po.
Ayo, yes daw po. So sa ating mga viewers, narinig niyo na po straight from Sir PJ. Single daw po siya. Sige. Maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for answering all of our viewers' questions. Thank you very much again for the engaging presentations you sirs have delivered earlier. And now, at this point, we will be awarding the certificates of appreciation to our speakers. The certificate reads, the University of the Philippines School of Library and Information Studies presents this certificate of appreciation to our speakers, Professor Dan Anthony D. Dorado, Professor Paul Jason V. Perez, and Professor Johnny S. Romeda for delivering his valuable webinar lecture entitled Online Teaching Aids for LIS Educators as part of the 2020 UP School of Library and Information Studies Lecture Series in celebration of its 59th anniversary. Given the second day of September 2020 at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City, signed Rhea Rowena U. Apolinario, College Secretary, and Mary Grace P. Golfo, Barcelona, Dean. Yeah, ito. Let me hand over the certificates to you. Get ready to receive it po, mga sir. Yan, o, di ba? Nandun na po sa kanila. Again, thank you so much, Sir Dan, Sir PJ, and Sir Johnny for your very helpful presentations. And before we end, we would like to invite our SLIS students and faculty, including our staff, to join our virtual kapihan sa SLIS happening tomorrow, September 3, 2020 at 2 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. As this is a town hall meeting for the SLIS community, we will be having presentations from our college officials on the conduct of the coming first semester 2020-2021. You may send your questions in advance through bit.ly/kapihan2021. This is for the SLIS community. Again, for your questions, to be entertained tomorrow at our kapihan, the link is bit.ly/kapihan2021. See you in our kapihan sa SLIS tomorrow. To all of our viewers, thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you all had meaningful takeaways from this webinar. Thank you too to our SLIS faculty for making this event possible. Special shout out to Professor Nathan Isip and Professor Mark Santos handling the tech side of this event. Please don't forget to register using the link to be shown on the screen later to receive your certificate. If you missed portions of this webinar, you may view this as a Facebook video or check our YouTube channel at UPSLIS. For updates on our upcoming activities, please follow us on our official Facebook page, UPSLIS, or visit our website at slis.upd.edu.ph. That wraps up our webinar this September 2020. Please join us again on the first Wednesday of October for another installment in our Webinar Wednesday series. Our next feature is on student matters, helping our students thrive with yours truly, our graduate program coordinator, Professor Waina Santos, and our college secretary, Professor Rhea Apolinario. This is happening on October 7, 2020 at 2 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. This is Elijah Darjuan, your host and moderator for this webinar, wishing you all the best and see you on our next webinar.